super excited to have Neha in my Wonder Woman podcast today. Neha, how are you doing today?
I am doing excellent, Renata. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh, you're so
It's a
welcome.
beautiful day.
Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest today. I'm really excited to dive deeper into the topic of self love today. And for those who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am a mom, a girlfriend, and a lot of other things, but I am a coach to you guys, to the listeners of this podcast. I am professionally a conscious relationship and confidence coach. Something that I struggle with personally is what my journey is about. And this is, I bring my lived experiences to my prospects, to my clients, and share my message through my books, through my coaching, through my workshops, on public speaking, building the confidence, finding that superpower or that power inside of you. And I use many different tools for myself and for my clients to develop the best relationship with themselves, through which they can find and fine tune their superpowers.
Wonderful. Well, you're the perfect guest because it's all about, activating your superpowers within in this podcast. So,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, okay, where to start? Okay, for those who may be also wondering, what is a conscious relationship coach?
Mm. So a conscious relationship, I will draw a kind of like a picture, if you will, to kind of bring the difference between. So my I quit a 12-year-old long marriage, and it's not like I just one day woke up and I said no, I don't want to be a part of it. No, I was a struggle, and I fought 9 years to get out of that marriage, which was an arranged marriage. But the reason why I'm so passionate about people finding that the a nurturing, a safe, beautiful, sacred relationship is because my own um, journey has been about making an unconscious decision. Well, it brought me away from the torture and the trauma that I was going through. And it was an important part. When I was going through that trauma myself, the only thing I needed was an escape. And that escape was this arranged marriage. But it was an unconscious decision, it came from an unconscious me. And that those 12 years were quite unsatisfying, unfulfilling, pretty much sexless marriage. And there was no love in that marriage because I did not love my partner. I could not bring all of me to that relationship, so I suffered a lot. But that was also a place where I grew. So then when I became a mother, I became more conscious about my actions. So it was
Mm.
an important part of my journey. Becoming a mother was an important part of my journey. So conscious is like becoming more aware of yourself and knowing who you are to yourself before you invite another person into your experience. Now, this can be your own child, because if you have love for yourself, you can love your child, you can understand them. If you have a partner, if you understand yourself, you will be able to love. You cannot give from an empty cup. I was pouring from an empty cup. So
Mm.
I had to learn firsthand, all on my own, how to deeply love myself and become the most conscious person in order to manifest that in my life.
Oh, your man.
My man, my conscious partner in my life. So that's a journey.
Wow, so wonderful. So when you go back now to your marriage and
Mhm.
think about maybe 5 till 10 years back, um how was your life? How did you feel? What were you going through? So the people who are listening right now, they kind of get an understanding of maybe your brain in that
Hmm.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful question. So I was, this is over 12 years ago. I would say 12, actually 13 years ago, I would want to go, because that's where it's like a dam of emotions just broke. It just I could not hold it, and I was bottling up all of those emotions, and I would burst just like that. And I was violent, because I was exposed to that. I was angry, extremely bitter, and so sad, Renata, that I wanted to I cried myself to sleep every night in that marriage. And even though I had become a mother, I wanted to not wake up the next day.
Wow. And that must have been huge. Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. Hmm.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
how unsatisfied I was.
Wow. And when was like the point in your life where you said to yourself, okay, no longer, I have to change something?
I would say there were quite a few, and the first thing that happened was, when my toddler was about, like, my son was 2 years old, about 2 years old, and um, he one summer day in middle of my living room, I noticed he was grabbing something that he is not supposed to be eating, and I quickly took it away. But then I noticed his anger at that, not getting that, and he smashed something off of the coffee table, and I everything, like, all of that anger just was about to I was about to hit him with all my might, and I screamed his name, and my hand went back here. I was about to whack my 2-year-old, and I froze in my tracks when I saw absolute screaming, crying terror in those little eyes of his. And those reminded me of how terrified I was of my own parent growing up.
Mm.
It was a very conscious decision I had made when I was about um, 11 years old, that I would be a different mother. And that day, when that happened, was the day I woke up to myself and I said, no, we are not making another unconscious person and continue on. This person, this little human in my life, deserves all the love, all the beautiful things I may not have experienced, but he completely, totally deserves the best mother from me. How can I give that to him? And that was like a conscious decision, one of the first conscious decisions I remember having made. And I said, I'm not going to hit and I'm not going to shout at him ever again like that,
Wow.
because
That
I
must
know the impact
mm.
of that.
Yes, and it's so beautiful what you said, because I think a lot of times we still have unconscious behaviors from our parents, and we continue this cycle of, hurt people, for example, or sometimes we just even not conscious about, what our parents did or our grandparents, and yeah, we just do it. But it's so important that we realize that the other person, like you said, your baby is a reflection of you in that moment, and that made you realize, oh my gosh, I have to change here something. So
Yes.
where are your next steps? So you wanted to change in that moment. What did you do?
What did I do? Lots of things actually. But the first things I remember doing was I came across somebody in like who I was seeing as like a friend. She mentioned to me uh, this author called Paulo Coelho, and she told me that his books are life changing. So any and every book of Paulo Coelho that I could get my hands on, I just grabbed and I just consumed and absorbed all of that goodness, all of that spirit and energy in his words, because they, for the first time, something spoke to me that brought life and
Mm.
love. It spoke love to my spirit. And this was my first um, way to start understanding myself and realizing that, oh, I am an individual. I am not just someone's daughter and someone's wife and someone's daughter in law and a mother. I am someone to myself.
Mm.
No one ever spoke that to me. So that was one of the first things I did, and I kept reading. I also, like, um, after some time, I started to practice, like, whatever it is that I was learning. I tried to speak that to my son, how it would be different than how I would speak. So I had to become very conscious about my words. And then I was introduced to meditation, like some guided meditations that I was listening. And after some time, I also found like books by Deepak Chopra, Osho, and I read and I like consumed them. Like, I am someone who doesn't like to depend on something. And then once I learn it, I want to do it by myself. So meditation is something that I took from that. And then I started practicing it on my own. A lot of that is like Deepak Chopra, his books and his different visualization meditations. I was trying all of that. And an even bigger impact that I had was from Osho, Osho's books, reading Osho's books, because he's a very he doesn't exist in this world anymore, but his teachings are like he's a controversial figure. But I took the wisdom that is shared in his books. I continue to practice that and take that in and apply that. And I was astounded when I realized that the kind of energy I put in and what kind of a state of mind I was in when I became pregnant.
Mm.
Because I read a book that is titled Sex, and how consciously are people bringing what is the energy people are bringing when they are making love, per se, to each other, to bring a human into the world. Is there confusion going on in the woman's body and sadness and all that trauma? I mean, all of that passes on to a child. And I was able to actually see and notice when he was about 5 years of age, like, oh my God, this kid, this child understands math in a very different way. He understands things differently. And there are so many ways where him and I are similar. I struggled to make friendships. So this was like phenomenal discovery about myself and about him. And then from then on, it was like it just went from like one to the next level to the next level. And I'm gaining that confidence as I'm getting to know myself. And then one I don't know if if your audience is familiar with what happened around 21st of December 2012. There was some, I don't know if it's solstice, got to do with
It was,
something,
yeah,
equinox,
yeah, I remember
equinox.
that. It was like the end of the world, and yeah, I think one of the Mayan calendars ended, something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm.
Exactly, exactly. So it was around that bit was like, really getting like I could feel that intensity
Mm.
strongly. And then I said, no more. If I want, and so there was a lot of argument going on in the household with my ex husband, then husband, and the child, and he was being affected. My son was being affected by that. So then I said, no more. I need to find my happiness, because otherwise I cannot bring that to, at least to, my relationship with my son. So because I wanted to bring more of that, that's when I said I will be. And then, so a year from that, those dates that I mentioned just now,
Mhm.
I had started to live on my own, like starting life from scratch. But it was
Wow.
a very, very conscious decision. And I remember saying to myself, like, the day I will be out of this marriage, I'm going to be a very, very happy person. It would be like so powerful. I felt it. I knew it. Like, it's going to happen. And then,
Wow,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So I
Wow.
pulled myself out of that.
Mm. And what was the hardest thing? Was it the decision to make, to go out of the relationship, you would say? Or what was the
No.
challenging?
And the challenging, well, it's like the challenges grew, but then I was already also becoming stronger and stronger. The challenges within the marriage was like dealing with in-laws, extended family who are getting involved in my marriage,
Mhm.
um, both sides of the family, like mine and his. So it's like 9 years of fighting that, because all of the responsibility is like, oh, this is the person that wants to be out. This is the bad guy, bad lady. So having to deal with that, shame, bad name, divorce, blah blah blah. So there was that, and then I said I don't care about that. But then when I started to live on my own, I was like, nobody told me living alone is going to be crazy and hard and all that stuff. Because when you are by yourself, and when you are alone, and when you are lonely, what happens? You want to run away from yourself and those hours, but you cannot. So what could you do? And like, the difference a man can make in a woman's life, I really miss that, because every time I was moving houses, I'm like, I wish I had a man to help me move the heavy things in. That was hard, like doing all those things that a man would otherwise take care of in the house.
Mm.
That was hard. But then also putting myself out there and starting dating all over again. Yeah, it was a trial and error, all of those things, all
Yeah.
those
Mm.
experiences.
Yeah, I guess in that
That was
time you
hard.
really had to be there for yourself. Like you had to go through how it feels like to be your own best friend in a way, isn't it? And to be okay to be with yourself. And I think a lot of people, they just can't be by themselves. They always have to be in a relationship. They always have to be with friends. And I went
Mm,
through you know, this phase a lot in my past, where I just, I had friends. And then after that, I went into a relationship, I went into another relationship. But then it's almost like the pain gets so big because you're trying to push something away. And
yeah,
then, suddenly it all comes at once. And you actually have to deal with it when you're by yourself, then,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what actually was coming up for me, I mean, I had the good part was I was already meditating, so I had some idea about, doing something with whatever was coming and being with myself. But then what was happening is a lot of anger. I felt a lot of anger towards my mother, and I was under the impression that I would have to forgive, and then like all of that was coming up, like the forgiveness. So what was happening is, you know, I it's like something I had to do, and that something was going to inevitably invalidate me.
Mm.
So I was caught in that cycle for a very long time. Should I forgive? Should I keep on? I mean, I kept working on myself, but then that forgiveness element that kept coming up for me. And I said, if I am going to do this, I have to let myself feel everything and not invalidate my anger, because it is very rightly feeling this. There's nothing wrong with that. It is an emotion, just like any other emotion. I have to experience it, I have to understand it. So there's a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, I think he's a Vietnamese leader, Buddhist
Mhm.
guy who wrote a book on anger. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote a book on anger.
Yeah, I
Beautiful
think I
book.
know him. I'm pretty sure I
Yeah,
know him. Yeah.
yeah. So I read that as well and understood the anger and where it was coming from and how to uh, actually manage that and
And how do
listen to
you
that.
manage it, for those who may be interested in that book, or how to, yeah, deal with your anger? I think a lot of people deal with it and they think it's something bad, so they trying to push it away.
Yeah. So anger, I'm not, I don't particularly speak about anger in
Mm.
the book, um, but I do speak about meditation, and then loneliness is something that I talk about. What the thing that may benefit people the most, for the listeners, if they're interested, the book in the book I describe my own journey of shadow work, so that's something they can definitely look into. But specifically, now I want to talk about anger. Now, why does anger come up? Anger, I realize in my case, is like um, it's a surface emotion.
Mm.
And it's like once I had let that come and like let that speak, I realized there was another layer underneath of that. There was a lot of loss, a
Mm.
lot of things I needed to grieve, but I was not allowed to. There was so much sadness that was not allowed. I was not allowed to be myself ever. I
Mm.
was pretending to be someone else and trying to please everybody else without even knowing myself. So all of that came up for me. And then I realized that there were so many experiences that had caused to that and added to that. So one by one, how do you peel back those things and bring yourself to a regulated, happier place? So, besides the listening to all of those emotions and writing things down as those emotions come and not escaping from them, I said I and then the forgiveness part, I just said, let's take it, put it aside. I don't care about this right now. Nothing is more important than everything that I am feeling. And because I have been invalidated multiple times, I am not going to do that to myself anymore. Of all the people in the world, I am going to be my best friend.
Mm.
And so, this best friend, what does this best friend want to do? She wants to go traveling. She wants to do the things that she was told she could not do. And then she went dancing and she went, um, yeah, traveled to places by herself, which she had never done.
Mm.
So I was there with myself, witnessing my extreme elated state of being when I'm dancing and traveling and absolute expansion. And I didn't do this in like just one go. I stepped outside and I went to, I mean, I've been living in Hong Kong for 20 years, Renata, but I never went and visited. There are so many different islands that you can go to. I never went there. I said, let me slowly get out of my comfort zone. So I took myself places and I just visited all by myself. I'm like, wow, I can do this. It is
Mm.
safe to do this. It is okay to do this. It is okay to give these experiences to myself. And
It's,
I can.
yeah, it's so empowering, like the first time you're
Yes.
traveling by yourself and you actually realize, oh my God, it's it's actually okay. You always think, oh, you just have to travel with someone else. Otherwise,
Mm.
you might seem a bit weird, or, you're lonely. But no, it's actually one of the best things ever I found. I just love traveling by myself. It was just like, I can do whatever I want, and
Yes,
that gives
yes.
you that confidence back that, oh my God, and yeah, I can do that. And there are so many possibilities once you actually realize that you can actually create all these experiences, and it's
Yeah.
not that disempowering anymore. Hmm.
Yes, it's in that giving that to yourself where you find that power back, you
Hmm.
know, understanding that it's not that you deserve love, you already have it. But it because of your experiences, you have stopped that because you don't want to hurt anymore, but then you're not letting anything flow out of you either. So there is this absolute closure. That means no one can love you, and you cannot receive love from anyone, and you cannot give to anyone as well if you don't give yourself those beautiful experiences.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times we want that other people are fulfilling our needs and they're filling our
Yeah.
cups,
Yeah.
and I think it's so easy to go into this trap, I would say, because I think everyone was raised up doing this, and trying to, get the partner, do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's not really fulfilling long term. And you will
No.
notice that, I think you will slowly get burned out the more you actually try to control in a way too, and you
Mm.
trying to manipulate a situation by what you want. But if you can't give it to yourself first, you actually, how can you give it to another person? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It has to come from yourself. It's like if you see a cup, it's overflowing. So you have to constantly do things for yourself that fill that cup. And this is where the conscious relationship bit comes in, where like you are doing you whatever you are doing to fill your cup and keep your cup filled so that you can spill that spills into your life, your relationships, right? A lot of times what is happening, you go empty into a relationship, and now what can I get from this relationship? What can I take? And I see that relationship is more like a bank. You have to deposit
Hmm.
love before you can withdraw. You will receive love, but you have to bring. What are you bringing to the relationship? If you don't have any for yourself, if you're not happy, people think that happiness is something that other people are going to give them. No, happiness is an inside job. You have to be happy even when there is nobody else around you,
Hmm.
because your happiness is nobody else's business. Your feelings are your responsibility. And
Yeah.
for as long as, for your women, for your listeners, the Wonder Women out there,
Mhm.
as long as you keep asking for that love, that happiness, looking for that outside, you're giving away your power.
Hmm.
The moment you understand that you can do it is where you take your power back and empower yourself, and then find your not lose yourself, like know yourself and then go. So a lot of times women are losing themselves in relationships.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're coming from a knowing, a happy place of what you can give, and you know what you want, and you know you can communicate all of that, think about how you can expand further in that relationship, and like just have that expanded consciousness continue and grow to be the woman that you are already, but just find more and more of you and become even more of you, and realize your how many different ways you can serve the people in your life. in your relationship and relationships.
Wow. It was so empowering. Thank you so much. It was like the creme de la creme, I would say.
I'm so happy. Thank you.
It's,
Oh,
I can't add anything to it. It's just like, it's just perfect as it is. I just loved everything you said because it's so true. And,
yeah.
for those who are maybe also a bit, um, stuck in their head with the word self-love, they're like, okay,
Mm,
loving myself. I'm loving myself, but
mm,
I kind of feel like nowadays people don't, they try to um localize it, or they try to
analyze.
analyze it, yeah,
Mm,
and then
mm.
they put it in a box. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, self-love. you know um so can you explain in simple words what is self-love and ways to to love yourself?
Mm. Sure. Um, I feel like I'm put in a spot now. I have to go back and read my book and kind of like, what did I write? Okay, jokes now, jokes aside, because you write so much, you to just put it all aside and
Mm,
speak that, right? So, okay, being able to love yourself. Now, what is the definition? A lot of times it can be just on the superficial level, which means I am taking myself to spas and I'm getting those massages, I'm getting my nails done, and I'm hanging out with my girls, and I'm having my wine, and I'm taking myself out, and I'm shopping for the things that I love, I'm spending money on myself. All of that is like the superficial loving yourself.
mm. Yeah, so taking care of yourself, of your own needs.
Yes.
Mm,
What needs? Now, the biggest and the most important need that we have as humans is the need for acceptance, is the need for being accepted as a human, and approval, and like just belonging.
yeah. Mm,
And where does all of that come from? That is all the emotional stuff.
mm,
Because when you are not accepted, how are you feeling? When you are rejected by someone, are you then rejecting yourself because you have experienced rejection several times, and then you start to do that to yourself unconsciously,
mm,
and then you realize you're doing that unconsciously, and then you stop doing that, and then you become conscious, like, okay, just because other people have done that to me, in a way we think about it this way, that this is what happened to me,
mm,
and realizing that why has this been happening, and it has realizing that it has been happening for me, to wake up to myself, because life keeps repeating the lessons until we learn. It's different than school. So when you learn and then discipline yourself, putting in the effort of becoming even more conscious, even more aware, and having that discipline and meditation. This is why the meditation chapter is very important. Meditation is something that trains your brain to catch yourself when you are doing those things.
mm,
That's where it helps. So you catching yourself and then disciplining yourself to saying, I am not going to do that anymore.
mm,
I am not going to be the one to hate myself or reject myself because other people are rejecting me. Just because they are rejecting me, it's their opinion of something, and that's not mine.
mm,
I believe in myself. I know myself. And slowly and surely, by doing these repeatedly for years and years and years, and the deeper you go into this, and especially with regards to working on your shadows and embracing everything that you have otherwise rejected and shoved under the carpet, when you embrace all of that, when you embrace the ugly, the good, the bad, the ugly in you, you become that whole.
Mm.
When you are more whole, then you have love for yourself and then for others. That is developing the discipline, that involves developing the discipline and becoming conscious and bringing in that awareness all the time to every action that you are taking,
Mm.
because most of actions are unconscious or just repetitive behaviors like consuming coffee every single day and too much of that caffeine and all that stuff.
Mm.
We know it's a drug, but we give it to ourselves all the time. Addictions like other addictions and things, right? So developing that and telling yourself and parking the ego
Mm.
far in the parking lot.
I love that saying. Parking the ego in the parking lot.
Yes, yes, because the ego is not going to like it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It will rebel and will fight, because that's what the ego is here for, right? It's like
Yeah,
the the part of ourselves which is like, no, I don't want to do that, or is like, wants to be in this repetitive cycle and
yeah,
wants to just do the same thing all over again because it's safe.
yes,
Yes. So I
yes,
love that, like staying committed to being conscious and to choose consciously,
yes,
um, to look through maybe your self-sabotage and look through your shadows. I love that you talked
yeah.
about shadows, and shadow work is so, so powerful. Absolutely love that.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. It is insane.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, yeah. One little shift can change everything. That's how powerful it is. So I love it. Love it.
Do you
Yeah.
have an example for those who are maybe wondering, okay, what is shadow work? And yeah, do you have maybe a small introduction to shadow work?
Mm, okay. I like, because it's something that only happens in the moment when it comes up for someone, and and whoever it is, so let's say yourself or me, right? So if it comes up for me, stopping and questioning and becoming curious about what is arising in me in this moment, and actually becoming so quiet and silent inside, um, and still, in order to witness
Mm.
everything that is unfolding. And what is, like, when you have a resistance, you will actually feel it in the physical body. So it's for you to sit with that and recognize, what is it that I am resisting? What is it about myself that what is it about this particular situation that I right now find hard to accept? So it has to be, it works best if there is an example. So, in order to make it very simple for the listeners, loneliness, I have in that book, I have a loneliness exercise as well before the shadow work. So I can speak to
Ooh.
that, because that's something people run away from, and they think, okay, they associate, I am lonely. I am lonely. I am angry. I am whatever, right? So I am sad. So these are like, the separation. That's why the meditation part also is important, and it comes before the shadow work in the book. So when you become more conscious, you are going to be able to do this. That's why you do it whenever it comes up for you. And then sitting with loneliness, like loneliness is a feeling that comes to see it's like you just feel it in that moment. And instead of running away from it, becoming curious about it, because it's coming for a reason. And a lot of times what people don't realize is that being alone is different than being lonely. Alone means you are with yourself. Loneliness means you are not even with yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
this, when you do the exercise of just sitting with that loneliness and asking questions to that loneliness, your loneliness is going to talk to you. It's an emotion that needs attention. Emotion is like is like so many, is this is the ocean, and then there's waves coming and going back, waves coming in and going back. So it's not like I am angry now, I'm always going to be angry. No, I'm feeling anger, I am feeling sadness, and I'm not always going to be sad, I'm not always going to be angry, I'm not always going to be lonely, right?
Mm.
So letting yourself feel that is your way to heal that inside of you. So, from when you have embraced loneliness through that little exercise and discover whatever comes up for you and where you are feeling whatever it is in your body, and just sit with that and breathe into that, bless you, you will realize,
Ah, sorry.
it's okay, you'll realize that you no longer have to run away from it. You will no longer be afraid of it because you will have embraced it. It's not something like that needs your attention. And when you give attention, you give that part of yourself attention.
Mm.
Then that no longer is going to come up for you, or it's going to be less strong of a reaction.
Yeah, and it less triggers you. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a short example that I can give because it's a simple example, but shadow work we can go really, really, really deep. And it's very specific. So apologies, I cannot go unless I have something to work. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
though. I think it's such a broad thing, shadow work. You can go into so many directions with it, but I love the
Yeah.
example with loneliness because I think everyone experienced loneliness at some point in
Yeah.
their life. And I
Yeah.
think it's nice when you can reframe alone to, all one. You're becoming all one. It's like everything is connected when you're just by yourself. And
Yeah.
you can just become one by being with
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm slowly coming to an end with this beautiful interview. I think I could talk with hours with you. I love
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
So for those who would like to know more about your work, do you have a website and Instagram? Yeah, how can
Yes.
people find you?
You can visit me. My website is www.nehasoni.com, NEHASONNEY.com. And you can contact me through the contact page. Um, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Two of the best places to get in touch with me. You can find me in either place and just send me a direct message. Instagram, I go by the handle. I have two separate handles. There is one for called the self love expert, where there is one e missing. So TheSelfLovexpert, and the other one is Neha and Todd, NEHAANDTODD. So that's the other handle, Neha and Todd. That's the other handle for us, the two
Yeah.
of us. I have two separate accounts going on Instagram, and both of them, I mean, I can be reached on
Oh,
author.
perfect. Yeah, we'll put
Yeah.
everything in the show notes. Also, the book which is coming out, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes. So the book, if the listeners are interested to be the first ones to know, you may go to www.nehasoni.com/wired and waiting. The name of the book is Wired for Self-Love. So go to nehasoni.com/wired and waiting, and
okay.
then you will hear more about the book. Subscribe to that and you will be the first ones to know when the book comes out.
Cool. Oh, that's super exciting. So I have
I
one
know.
more questions that I always ask my listeners. No, not my listeners. I mean my guests.
Yes.
It will be actually quite
it's
cool to
it's late.
yeah, it's getting late in Australia. It's getting dark actually, don't you? It's like, yeah, it's getting dark here
It's
now.
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so imagine I would give you a microphone, and this microphone is connected with every radio station on the world, with every TV show, and everyone could understand you. You have 1 minute time to talk to the people from the world. What would you love to tell them?
Learn to love yourself, and then you will find everything that you are looking for. The universe will come rushing in to give you every single thing that you want, and will you should expect everything that you have been wanting, and it will ask for you to grow and expand so that you can receive all of that which you are asking for. And you will ask, because that is being brave. And the braver you can get, the bigger your ask, the more the universe will give you. And the universe always has something to give you. You have to be detached from whatever it is that you want, because the universe takes care of the details. So your intention only is enough. And then just live in the present moment, because that's where the magic happens.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Neha. I loved it. Everyone is clapping now all over the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sending you so much love to Hong Kong and talk to you soon. Bye.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.